solutions are so improbable, 'cause everybody else is just as empty. Naked as the day that I was born, I try to hide behind education and philosophy. Hopeless explanation to describe a situation I can't see because the world's on top of me. A wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from the body of this death? Free me from dust and the superficial trust of an enemy that seeks to take my breath. Failing to connect, 'cause I'm morally defected by reason of the God inside my head, causing me to see only what pertains to me, believing I'm alive when I'm still dead, limited to earth, unable to find out my worth, 'cause I can't see past my own vanity. If I'm not included, then I just have to remove it from my mind, because it has to be insanity. A wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from the body of this death? Can I even factor that I've only been an actor in the staged interpretation of this day? Focused on the shadow, with my back turned to the light, too intelligent to see it's me in the way. What a paradox, having God trapped in a box, all this time professing to be spiritual, naturally pretending that I'm actually defending God through my facade, only material. Jerusalem, wash thine heart from wickedness, that thou mayest be saved from thy deception. How long shall thy vain thoughts lodge within thee, O Jerusalem, keeping thee from perfection? Submit to truth, leave the deception of thy youth, so we can walk in the counsel of authority. A generation so aloof, only following the steps of the majority. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not to thine own understanding in all thy ways. Acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise and not no lies, so you can't follow him. We judge and condemn just as ignorant as them, who religion tells us that we should ignore. Perpetrating, we're in covenant with him, exposed by the very things that we adore. We grin and shake hands, then lay ambush for the man who has a different point of view than us. Doesn't understand, bringing up those things we don't want to discuss. Wise to do evil, we don't know how to do good, walking on the darkness, running from the light. Hey, led to believe because we live in neighborhoods telling us what's going on will be alright. Oh, so repressed, so convinced that I was blessed when I played with my game of Monopoly. Or to suggest that my life is still a mess will reveal the pride I'm hiding is what's stopping me. Oh, Jerusalem, wash thy heart from wickedness, that thou mayest be saved from thy deception. cannot bear fruit of itself except in the vine. I am the vine, ye are the branches, he that live in me, and I in him, the same bring forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. Oh, Jerusalem, your traditions have deceived you. I've chosen you, you haven't chosen me. That whatsoever you ask in my name, he may give to you. But in vain they call my name, teaching doctrines just the same, justified among themselves. But God knoweth the heart, what man esteems as smart is an abomination to Emmanuel. Just repent, turn from selfish motivation, so iniquity will not cause your demise. Make you a new heart and a new spirit, for why will ye die? Oh, Jerusalem, please tell me why. I have no pleasure in the death of him that dieth, says the Lord God, wherefore turn yourselves and live. It's not the talkers, but the walkers in his word are the only ones the Father will forgive. Oh, Jerusalem, watch not harm for wickedness, that thou mayest be saved from thy deception. How long shall thy faint thorns lodge within thee, oh Jerusalem, providing you no protection? Oh Jerusalem, oh, yeah.
Queensland Police Service is a trading company. The Fair Work Act of Section 35, it's quite clear that it's a trading company. And as such, there needs to be a contract or an agreement in place in order for any relationship to be present or occur between the company or the trading company, namely Queensland Police Service. The Queensland Police Service has an ABN, and I believe, but don't quote me, that different agencies around the country, I believe some of them have different ones independent from the Queensland Police Service main one. I'll have to look at some correspondence that took place a while ago with a Queensland Police Service in a town, and on the very back of their yellow envelope there was a stamp. Now I want to see if that ties into the general Queensland Police Service ABN or it's an independent one, but I think from memory that it was independent from the main one. So in the world, everything operates through contract, through agreement. Okay, everything. You know, as recent times in Victoria, for example, like last year, when there was offers out there from Daniel Andrews to the public using the media outlets as a place to put out those offers to people. The very tacit conduct or the very behavior of them doing such a thing as putting on a mask was their consent and an agreement to accept that offer. So then and there is a perfect example of how things work in the private through the contract, through offer and agreement. Now, if it wasn't for those guys there, the others that perhaps didn't perform through their behavior or putting on a mask, which would give them the offerer the concise knowing that they have agreed, is that the ones of acquiescence, of silence. Now, we are very familiar with acquiescence and silence, how that there would be an agreement to something if it is that you said nothing at all when you had an opportunity to do so. Now, I don't see many or hear of many that are actually doing that, which is very strange, considering that we're very familiar of how things operate. Now, maxims of law is those that are in agreement. It creates the law between those that are in agreement. So between the Queensland Police Service and the Office of Executor of the Shoals and Ulick Estate back in 2012 or 13, there was an agreement that took place. A private trading company and a private man thus created the law between the parties. So you have legislation, the Roads Transport and Operation Act of 1995, the Police Powers and Responsibility Act, the Criminal Code 1995, the Crimes Act of 1914, etc. Yeah, cool. That all pertains to the Queensland Police Service and more. However, there's something more that pertains or they are obligated and adhere to, which is the private law created between the two, which is even better. So a current event that's taken place is, deprivation of liberty, kidnap, armed robbery, child abuse, misrepresentation, counterfeit, fraud, just to name a few, and notwithstanding many others, that these guys are in sheer violation of the private law, because there is to be no contracting. There is to be no communications between the two. Notice to principal is a notice to agent, and a notice to agent is a notice to principal. Thus, if it was the CEO of that organisation partaken and agreed upon that agreement, now all agents of that service, being the Queensland Police Service, should have been well aware, because if we look at work health and safety, the actual object of that is to have clarity to people within an organisation of any dangers that may occur. So in this case here, to an agent, Patrick Cronin, he should have been aware that there is a private law in place between this man here, because as a result of any violations of such, there is fee schedules for certain performances performed by the executor of the Shoals and Ulick Estate. Thus would cause him quite an injury, a loss or harm. So they are in violation of such because they failed to notify all the agents, and that was said quite clearly, notice to principal was the notice to agent, and the notice to agent was the notice to principal. So there is no reasonable grounds or reasonable excuse for these guys to not be aware of such going on. And if there is anyone to be liable or accountable for such, certainly the burden isn't upon me, because I've been clear and concise with no ambiguity to these terms and conditions set out in the agreement, which has created the law with the Queensland Police Service, the Office of Executive for the Shoals and Ulick Estate, none whatsoever. So the burden would lie upon the Commissioner of Police. Nothing to do with me, not a concern, nothing I want to venture into my energy into that side of things. None of my business. That's their business, their problem, their concern. And obviously being robbed at gunpoint and kidnapped is a concern for me. Has it caused me harm? Yes, it has. Has it caused me loss? Yes, it has. Has it caused me injury? Yes, it has. Should have this taken place? No, it shouldn't have. Because according to contract law, and the mere 5 foundations that go along with it, was carried out perfect. So why should I have to suffer from the inability of another? I'm getting quite fed up. I'm getting quite sick of it. No matter where you go nowadays, whether it's to a mechanic or to any other places of goods and services, people are incompetent and fucking stupid. Hence why I've been a very self-determined man over the years. There's not much that I cannot do for our house because I don't want to rely upon anybody, because I already know I don't trust them. I already know that they're fucking incompetent, and I already know that they're not trustworthy. Thus, I do not do it. I do not go with them. I do not enter into anything with them. If I did, I'd be insane, because repeating something that has failed previously is the first sign of insanity. And I'm certainly not insane. I'm sane, and I have a clear and sound mind. I know who I am and who I am dealing with out there, and I'm certainly not in two minds. So very behaviours, they say, speaks louder than words, Grandma once told me. So we've got to really start to be very critical, or let's take that word out and say mindful about our behaviour and our actions out there. Because we're coming into light of all these sort of things, right? Man, flesh and blood, okay? We're starting to see some studies that has been put out there by Romley in correlation to symbolic, sign language, signage, which does not take, is not party to proper English text and customs here in Commonwealth of Australia. Thus, it has no jurisdiction and it can only be used by the consent of another. Yes, we're aware of it. Do we consent? No, we don't. Right. So when one would be notified to do a tax obligation or to appear, a notice to appear in court, now we must scrutinise and look deeper to the onion layers and figure out what the words mean for a starter. So we're starting to learn that most of these notices to appear and summonses to appear is nothing more than trying to summons the dead for an invitation to a venue that really is all to do with war. Now, me being a child of Christ Jesus, creator, I'm of peace. I'm a peacemaker. If I walk down the driveway, there is no post box. I'm not at military post. Why? Because I do not support and encourage any sorts of war, as my faith and belief as a man I am here before you is of peace. So the very behavior would have to represent peace, not because it's in the mind or in the heart or the soul, but as I walk myself down with my will being displayed for all to see, that needs to correlate with that mind and the body and the soul. It's all about actions, guys. And a lot of you guys out there are actually putting things into action. You feel, you think, you question, you go, this is ridiculous, and you do not do it. You say no, and you cop whatever comes at you for stating your moral integrity by the actions. And I salute you. This is what needs to take place by every man and woman and child that feels something is wrong, because it is. It goes against what's enshrined in us, in our DNA, to the genome. We know right and wrong. We do not want to do wrong. We must do right. And to stand in action and do what's right is commendable. It's quite natural, but right now in these bizarre inverted times, it's heroic because of the things that come across as a result of doing right in a wrong, satanic, insane mental asylum called the world. So who are they? We've spoke. They're a trading company. What they do? Well, we're meant to believe that the Queensland Police Service, or the police service at that, do, they keep us safe. In the writings, it's quite clear that any police service here, they work for the corporations. They are not there to keep you and me safe whatsoever. It's written. I'll see if I can come up and find that and maybe put a link in the description or something, but it's quite clear from what I've seen over the years from different readings of paperwork, laws, etc., that they protect the corporations, guys. Okay, we're not dealing with policemen anymore. Policeman, de jure. These guys are a foreign occupation here in the Commonwealth of Australia. They don't belong here. And as far as I'm aware, they operate from Norfolk Island. And they've just set up all these buildings and this big infrastructure of government buildings everywhere, but they operate from Norfolk Island and are a sub-agency to the United States. United States. What state are you in? I'm in a state of happiness, near Queensland. I'm my own nation of happiness in a state, not party to the company Australia. I'm not of Queensland, perhaps just like you're not of Australia and you're not of South Australia, Western Australia, or Victoria. Because don't get it twisted, guys. Let's get real here. These states are companies. I say this in a simplistic way. There's probably a more of a technical coin term to use here, but let's keep it simple. They're companies. We've got Queensland with an uppercase Q, lowercase U-E-E-N-S-L-A-N-D. Then we have capital T, lowercase h-E, space, uppercase S, T-A-T-E, lowercase, space, lowercase o, lowercase f, space, uppercase Q, lowercase U-E-E-N-S-L-A-N-D. Full stop. And then we have uppercase, all uppercase, Queensland, Queensland. So there's 3 that I've mentioned. 3 are separate from each other. 3 mean something separate from each other. They're all different. Is one of them actually a landmass known as Queensland, as we would perceive that to be? I don't think so. Okay, and I'm not sure if you guys have had any confirmation to who your payroll manager is, if you guys have received any payroll slips for being under the employ of Queensland, but I certainly have put that forward to them years ago, and there is no payroll manager or no payroll slips because I'm not under the employ of Queensland. And that was damning evidence enough to rid the presumption and create something more outside of them, and severing and separating myself from their tin shed, namely Queensland, because I don't want to be under a tin shed in those sort of conditions, you know, working away my sweat equity for some sick, twisted, psychopathic fucking nut job for nothing. There's no benefit in it. I'm not benefiting anything. I'm not even getting paid. All I seems to be doing is being tied to a surety ship of hell on earth. And when that comes to my mind, I certainly go, I don't want to be a party to that. What do I do? Okay? And there's a lot of ways and methods out there that you are aware of to do. So do it. The system's a presumption. Give some clarity. Get yourself out of those tin sheds, make it quite clear and concise, and come under the Creator. The benefits, grace, redemption. Everything's prepaid over here. Hello, prepaid. We have a private trading company trying to usurp one's equity and value, time, energy, and life under usufructuary, taking one man's fruit and using it for their own benefit. Many are not aware of what they are doing. They purely think that they are, doing good for the state, protecting us, keeping us safe, doing what's right. But have they got a lot to learn? Oh boy, yes they do. And here we are, not only stepping into the place of self-determination and 110%, let's say 111% responsibility, owning our shit and standing up and being the fucking fantastic example that we are, but also educators, teachers. We are getting plundered and holding to account, and as well as doing such a thing through that process are teaching. Absolutely fantastic. Doesn't seem very fair. I mean, we've got better things to do because these things aren't easy. They're quite greasy, and it's never easy being greasy. Yeah, I get that. So when it comes to an agreement creates the law. An agreement also is known as a contract. The contract makes the law. And as we've said earlier, just moments ago, that the agreement is through the acquiescence of silence when one has an opportunity to non-accept the offer. And then we also have it is through tacit conduct by the very performing to do what it is that the offer is to say to do, that there is another form of agreement. So that there creates the law. And we know that that's how they operate because they are private, they are trading companies. So there you go. There's the proof in the pudding. Stick the finger in. It just come out of the oven. It will be hot. just like they are private trading companies, and that's what they do. You know that. You don't need a confirmation about that. You know how to deal with them through contract. Agreements give the law to the contract. Okay? What else we got? The agreement of the parties overcomes or prevails against the law. In the agreement of the contracting parties, the rule is to regard the intention rather than the words. Agreements take the place of law. The express understanding of parties supersedes such understanding as the law would imply. Manner and agreement overrule the law. The manner and agreement, the manner would perhaps come through an action of behavior. So the behavior and or something that's put in paper form is forming an agreement. It overrules the law. Now, the law would be something that we've always believed, the law, all these acts and legislations, which are nothing more than policy, which pertain to a corporation, as every citizen or resident of state or citizen of federal country is under the employ of that company. Thus, the policy is for all the people under the tin shed. So the manner and agreement overrules that bullshit. It's fiction. Okay? A fiction is a rule of law that assumes something which is or may be false as true. We know that. Where truth is, fiction of law does not exist. Okay? The truth is they're private trading companies. So the fiction of the law no longer now exists. Not only that, though, but we've created our own. We're creating our own law. Something that perhaps serves the soul, the mind. Something that you practice, spiritual maturity perhaps. So, it can be something beneficial. So when it is you may have to administrate some sort of a trespass or breach of violation of the law that is in place, you don't tend to have to really dip and delve too deep into the onion layers of the satanic system, which is the world of commerce, in order to carry out the administration of a trespass or a violation of contract. Fictions arise from the law and not the law from fictions. Fictions arise from the law because the law is a fiction and not the law from fictions. Fiction is against the truth, but it is to have truth. In a fiction of law, equity always subsists. A fiction of law injures no one. Fiction of law is wrongful. Is it works loss or injury to anyone? Fictions. Okay? The fictitious personalities. J. Smith. J. K. Smith. J. capital O. H. N. space SMITH. Legal personalities in fiction. Comes under personhood. Privileges granted by the false god being the creator being the state's created the person, there's the legal personality, a fiction. To give rise in giving belief and handing that over as this false god is some sort of master, they will be a master because the very belief in it gives power and validity to it. So the sooner one aligns mind, spirit to action, rids the presumption, puts out the light of the illusion of the fiction and creates the law between them. Consent and contracts. Now, we've all been blindsided. We've not understood who we are, who they are. We've not understood and comprehended the sheer deception that has been taking place. Knowing now that they're all private, they're entities, corporations, which creator, man, government, corporations, entities is way down here. We're way up there. So obviously, in the hierarchy scale of things, we have the authority, power, and will to do as we will, causing no harms, injury, or loss. Consent makes the law. A contract is a law between the parties, which can acquire force only by consent. Consent makes the law. The terms of a contract, lawful in its purpose, constitutes the law as between the parties. To him consenting, no injury is done. So when one consents and there is an injury, well, it isn't done. Those that are willing to be deceived, well, they will be deceived. That's your problem. That's on you. A contract founded on a base and unlawful consideration or against good morals is null. So a contract that is founded on a base and unlawful consideration, so something that's baseless and is illegal or unlawful to consider or against good morals, it's null. It's avoidable. But seems the system is presumptive and works in presumption. One needs to notify and transmit communications in a way of something legal and an instrument that can sound a melody to rid that ambiguity and know exactly your will and position of that offer. The contract makes the law. Agreements give the law to the contract. No action arises on an immoral contract, but they do. People get really upset seeing civilians over in Syria 7 years ago get blown up by some man that thinks he's on a game, but it's a real drone and he's blowing these people up. They don't like that. Have you contributed to that? I think so. Do you pay taxes? Yes. Well, you've kind of aided and abetted in such a heinous crime against humanity. He who contracts knows or ought to know the quality of the person with whom he contracts. Otherwise, he is not excusable. So, we've got a Queensland Police Service, allegedly, because there's some lights and some insignia on the side that reflects, which anyone can really get put on their car, and a lot of people like to impersonate. I've seen many instances of this over the time, but there's unknown and unfamiliar actors in costumes that were required by my very substance of voice and questioning concern directed at them with the foundation of knowing with whom you deal.
Okay, as I said, I'm on my time, so what was your name?
Yep, Constable Hopkins, 21060 for registration number.
Have you got something I can identify you with?
Correct, I actually do.
Fantastic.
Here's my badge and my police ID.
So Michael KV HOBDEN?
That's correct.
Righto. Okay, well I'm proceeding
I asked,
out of
please
my
identify
car to the boot
yourselves.
to get
A
the
badge,
retaliation for this
business card, and a driver's license.
police officer.
So then I could know with whom I'm dealing with.
Also, this is a private vehicle, registered with Luke Shoals Estate. As I said, there's trespass notices there, so you're not to enter this vehicle, you'll be trespassing on the estate. Do you have anything with your name on it? Yeah, I'm just looking for something with my appellation on it. Yes. So what's this you're handing me? So did you say all my details?
That's correct. The details you provided on your card you gave me.
Yeah, I said that's my legal person. That's not me.
That's your legal person then.
Right.
Alright, your payment options are on the back. You want to confess the matter on the other side. That one's what you do there, okay?
Yeah, right. No, the questions will come later.
Here's your card back and your ticket.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Okay, he just trespassed my property. Notice that? What a good day. So we have all the details there. Our wheels being more predominant in way of thought, focus, perhaps, and substance. So it's something that I've practiced, and it's became habitual here at the Office of Executor, at the dwelling of the House of Worship here in the state of happiness near Queensland, central Queensland. Near, I say near because you know, I've been not party to the company Queensland for some time. Yes, that does kind of sound a little bit bizarre, but perhaps you guys should be used to when you're dropping in and having a conversation, or a discussion rather, with Crown, that this is not unusual, these sort of things that one brings to light. But anyway, the reason why I am bringing a transmission forward today is in correlation to a recent incident with a subsidiary agency of Queensland under Anastasia Shit Guts, or whatever you'd like to call her. I don't really know. I don't watch television very often. However, that subsidiary agency would be namely the Queensland Police Service, alleged, and I say allegedly because I have no idea. It's all speculation. And I say this because two unidentified, unfamiliar persons in costumes 45 minutes south of Childers near Queensland, Terra Australis, had some disco lights going on their vehicle. Now, it was probably 5 to 6 kilometres, 8 minutes of travel down the Bruce Highway heading towards Brisbane, that I pulled over in correlation to charity, the charity in me gifting them an assistance in correlation to an emergency, if it is that they indeed were foreign agents, perhaps under a 418 memorandum local agent form from ASIC there, to be able to do any trading here on these lands here in Terra Australis. However, you know, it will be the last time that I will offer assistance to these alleged foreign agents that work for the Queensland Police Service, because maxims of law is, you know, those that have carried out any criminal behavior, it's to be seen that that's what they always will be doing, or that's who they are. So if they're once criminals, they are always criminals, and this is absolute. As soon as they put on their costumes and start acting in the persona as foreign agents here on our land, well, that there in itself is a huge crime. And then on top of that, they carry out counterfeiting, uttering. Well, it could be speculated that it's fraud. When we talk in correlation to dog Latin and the poison in the text with the all capital symbolic sign language that they use in order to create the joiner to access minor accounts for the renderings onto Caesars back to Rome, those security chattels that we're all familiar with, and those that are not so much, it would be in correlation to thy person in legal terms. The person, for those that aren't aware, is your birth certificate, and that there is a security. Seems that the governments de facto, meaning the trading companies, corporations, subsidiaries of Washington, D.C. or the United States, subsidiaries, in 1933 went bankrupt. So we think of, let's say, a company local to our area that went bankrupt. They kind of like disappeared, right? They did not do any more operations in correlation to any trade because they had no way to be able to do so. However, these governments around the world have still managed to be able to function for, well, let's do some maths here. So 67 years, 89 years. I like the 9 in it, the 8 and the 9. Not a bad little combination of numerology. But they've been able to function. How? Well, on the backs of you guys. Yeah, that's right. As collateral to be able to loan military script, or rather detonate, as would see it as money, to be able to function. Yes. So the government are there for infrastructure. Okay. And they could actually print their own coinage in relation to carrying out those tasks. So tax, tolls is really in question. But I mean, we've all known this for a long time, that the tolls go to a particular family, which carry out and contribute monies to the demise of mankind. So, if it is that you guys are, have some sort of qualm, or, don't really appreciate what you are now uncovering and coming to see with the third eyes, perhaps it's time to not pay tolls, time for not paying taxes, time for making those changes in order to bring forth a better future. Because actions speak louder than the words. We've all known this. We probably advocate this to our children. But what better way to demonstrate than the actions? I certainly do. I was in a position where there was some sorts of violations in correlation to a legal sense of the policies that regulated this trading company, namely Gladstone Regional Council, the subsidiary, which is a library. Okay, I like to read, so does my daughter. Now, we were confronted with, sheer dum-dums, asking that we give our name in relation to, entry into the library. I'm not sure about you guys, but I don't give away my services when I do photography. I don't go and do a photo shoot for like 2 hours and gift them my expertism for free. It's bad business. Much like it is bad business giving away things that are yours, like that. The name is yours. Give it away? No, I don't think so. $10,000 for the first, $17,000 for the Christian name, hyphenated together, Daniel Luke. Today, $16,500. Okay, and you're not going to get the full legal name because the legal name is dead. It took a civil death which uprose some status, and the Christian will be born again, coming under the scriptures of Creator. In so God we trust. So God help you. The very foundation of the laws here in the Commonwealth of Australia. So that would be a colon to sever Christian name from surname, because if there is no separation of surname, we have Daniel Luke Scholes. That Scholes basically just grows in all capital letters and then just plonks on top of the Christian name, and Christian's gone. We are now representing a incorporated soulless entity, which certainly we have no control over, because the presumptive system will have you, me, seen as surety to that surname. So, no, I will not be giving any names here. Seems that you guys, being the subsidiary branch of the Gladstone Regional Council, you guys are regulated with all sorts of gibbly-gop, namely acts, legislations, and laws, if you'd like to call them that. I don't like to see them as that, because laws to me resemble something of positivity, something of positive, something moving goodness. And that certainly isn't the case with that. So, you know, the Privacy Act of 1988 came to mind in relation to what she said was an information privacy request. Sorry. Now you have actually interfered with my privacy again. Comes out of the Privacy Act of 1988. And as a result of that interference from the request has brought about an adverse action, again, coming from the Privacy Act of 1988. The definition can be found in the Fair Work Act. Not sure of the year of that, but you Google it, you'll find it. And it was that they seemed to be quite concerned that the council, the library itself, would get a fine. They would be fined. The disciplinary action from that behaviour would impact their office, being the library. And I just wanted to face palm myself. I said, darling, I said, you've got bigger concerns about like protecting your company that has no soul, no feeling, no emotion. I said, right now and right here in this particular now space and time, lovey-dovey, this man here has all those things. I have limbs. I have heart. I have soul. I have feeling. And I am not feeling very good right now. Hence why the Privacy Act 1988 is in place, in order for the man or the woman that has those feelings, it does not cause an adverse action onto them. So you're worried more about a building with bricks and mortar than you are of your fellow neighbor. I said, and this fellow neighbor has the ability to take your home, your car, your savings, your bonds from your very possession. And that means that you will be working for me for the rest of your life. But yet you're worried more about protecting a soulless bricks and mortar. And when I said this, ladies and gentlemen, it was from the heart. It was me looking at another, a reflection of myself, trying to get through to her, because I care. I don't want to do this. I don't want to carry out any commercial lien. It's not something that I like to do. It's not something that I'd wish upon anybody. I don't want to do this. But I was merely pointing out that it could be to come to fruition and to the forefront of her life that this could take place if she continues to violate my right. I stand very, very firm on this. I'm very serious with this sort of stuff. Because I have a will. My will is to walk upon this earth and carry out whatever comes to my mind at the time, causing no harm, injury, or loss to another. And no one's will come against that without any repercussion in a lawful sense. When I say any repercussion or there will be consequences, etc., let's make it quite clear and concise that this does not come into violence or anything physical. It comes into the realms of contractual, consensual, commercial liens in an administrational sense of things. But I will not let some dum-dums will. Now, their will is based on a programming, okay? An unknowing, and not knowing, a fear. So there's no critical thinking or any reasoning behind their will. I don't even know if you could call it a will, okay? It's much like a little robot dog going, woof, woof, please leave here now, or I will call the police. It's like, whatever, you know? I'm not going to take and adhere to anyone's programmed will. I don't even know if I'm not even going to call it a will. You guys probably will have a word for it. Fear. An unreasonable, unconscionable process of thought that actually comes from the very pit of their anus. So it upchucks and speaks air out with follicles of shit everywhere. And my will is golden. It's like laced with light from the divine, and the intent and substance behind it is sparkling up a pretty sculpture of colors. The vividness and eminence of this for any abstract creative mind would just be like, whoa, that's colorful, man. No consent. Sit back down in your seat and you key in more things in your data entries in your computer and just shut up and leave me the fuck alone. This is getting absolutely ridiculous. But obviously we need to tread carefully here on these jelly spines that we are seeing everywhere. They're very, very weak currently. You know, with a little bit of hope, you know, these guys here will just get their stage 3 trial jab shots and perhaps, you know, go home. Home being heaven. See you later. Thank you so much. Good riddance. Bring the housing market down. The supply and demand will be a lot lower. You know, I don't have to, you know, deal with any soul level trauma from seeing all these people cruising around, not being able to breathe and not be able to gauge them in a presence sense to what the hell they are feeling. No smiles, etc. Now I'm going on a bit of a rant here, and I apologize. This is supposed to be a short transmission in correlation to a highway robbery and a kidnap that took place the beginning of the long weekend in Easter 2021. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Nana and Pops, Grandma and Grandpas, entities, Jurassic persons, artificial persons, authorized persons, personal representatives, etc.